Hi everyone. So whether you're creating your own pattern from scratch or you're buying a pattern from a store, the two biggest factors to consider are often the size of the pattern and the number of colours used. And this will have a big impact on the quality of the final piece. So you want to make the right choice. So I thought it'd be useful for us to explore some of the options and see how they affect things. To do this, I'm going to use this image, which is a picture of threads. And what we'll do, we'll just start by loading this into our app. This is web-based. You just drag and drop the image. And what this will do is convert it into a cross-stitch pattern. So you see it has the progress in the top right, and there's our completed pattern. So we've got the threads down the right. We've got the number of stitches and the total number of stitches. This is the size of the pattern in stitches rather, and the number of colours that have been selected. And this is out of the full DMC, the new colour palette range. And you can see how big the piece would come out if it was stitched on different types of fabric. Now, the size of the piece, you may start by deciding that you want it a certain physical dimension. Maybe you want to put it in a particular spot on the wall, or it's to fit a particular frame, or you're just comfortable with a particular size of piece. You can adjust the size to fit that, so you can make the image smaller, and obviously when you do that you're losing resolution, so each square or each stitch of the piece is now covering a larger proportion of the image, so you get the more blocky pixelated effect. And obviously the size of the piece will be smaller, the number of stitches, it's just less work to do, and you can keep going smaller, and obviously at a certain point the image will start to look less detailed. Not every image will work down to every level. If we keep going, for instance, 120, it will look, because this is quite a detailed image, it's probably clear if we zoom out. Actually doesn't look too bad. You can still make out what the image is, but you've lost a lot of detail. And likewise, you can go the other way, so you can make the image larger than it was before. And this is now making the piece a higher resolution piece, so you get more detail. So you're starting to see you can make out more pieces of the threads and even the texture on some of the threads, but it comes at the expense of more effort to stitch, and obviously the size of the piece will be much larger, and at a certain point it won't even be feasible to do on the lower count fabrics, because you probably won't be able to get the fabric size, and you can go right the way up to really quite large sizes. While this is working, actually you can see the progress here. These are the different stages the app goes through. So first of all, it has to analyze the image, pick out all the colors excuse me, and convert them to the thread colors, and figure out what the best mix of colors to use to reproduce the image. So out of the 482 DMC full palette, it's picked out 95 colours to represent that, and that's because we have another limit here, which is the number of colours we want to use. And this is where things get interesting. Now I've actually seen people selling patterns where they kind of make a big deal of the pattern being very big in terms of stitches, so it's a high resolution, and they also use a really large number of colours as well. And I think the thinking is, well, it's going to be awesome, and obviously it will look good. It should look, everything should look fantastic if you bump up the resolution and also the number of colours. But we'll just run an experiment, and I want to show you that really you often need one or the other, because they're both to some extent different approaches to solving the same issue. So we've upped the number of colours. We've allowed it to use the maximum number, which is 255 with our software, and it's picked out 221. So it looks fantastic, and we've got it at 700 odd size. So this is a fantastic piece, super detailed, super colourful. Now let's just to speed things up a bit, let's go a little bit small. Let's do 600. It's just more work for the app to do to analyse, and I want to be able to show you the difference a little quicker. So we'll just let that run. And I'll explain what some of these other options are, like dithering, that it's applying. So 219 colours now is picked. So I want you to watch the difference now. So look at this image closely as I change the number of colours. So it was 219. Let's see how many it picks out now. There, so now it's 101. So we've lost nearly 120 colours, my wonky math, and the image doesn't look significantly different. There were a few changes around here I noticed. Maybe depends where you're looking when it changes. But part of the issue is, unless you're looking at the original picture and comparing like for like, anyone viewing the piece, so if you just came and saw this piece hanging on the wall, you don't know and can't really tell the difference between those colours existing or not. But we just saved 120 colours, which makes a huge difference to how difficult and how expensive the piece is going to be. So I mean, just as a very, very ballpark figure, if you paid $1 for a skein of thread, and even if you only needed one of each of those colours, that's close to $120 in thread alone. Now, I said earlier that you can either choose colours or you can use resolution, and the reason for this is dithering. So dithering is the option, you saw it when it was processing. Dithering is what happens when, if I zoom in to these pieces, so these, we know that mentally we know that this is grey. It's obviously picking up the colours of the threads that are close to them, in this case the turquoisey blue. But you'll see it's not just change one colour and then another and then another. It actually speckles and intersperses, and this is where it blends the colours together to mix the colours effectively, so that when you're looking from a distance you see a more gradual, smoother colour change. Now we can actually turn this off. If I just turn on the advanced options and I turn the dithering off, you'll see that you get the bands of colour because there's no dithering basically. And we can also change how much dithering and what type of dithering we apply. So there's different algorithms that produce different effects. This is a really nice high quality one, and you see we've not added any more colours, but we've now got much smoother graduations. So the dithering allows you to produce the effect of having more colours than you've actually got, and this is why you don't often need, if you've got good dithering algorithms, you don't need as many colours. So I mean, it's up to you as the stitcher to decide. Do you prefer some confetti, or would you prefer to spend money and have more thread changes for different colour threads, for instance? Now, if I show you another way of looking at the dithering, this is the Wikipedia article on it, and this is an example of how you can, by alternating colours, you, in this case red and blue, you can produce effectively another colour. Now if you've got and this is a good way to visualise it, if you've got these two colours, if you were at a low resolution you can't really get a purple colour. You're going to see the red and blue speckles. But if you've got high resolution, you don't. So if you've got low resolution, you need the purple as a separate colour to see purple. But if you've got a low enough size of stitch, so a higher resolution pattern, you don't always need that extra colour, because you can create that colour by dithering the other threads together. And that's why you tend to need either more colours or you need higher resolution. So for instance, let's reduce the size of the pattern. Let's go down to, what's that, 280. So now we've lost a lot of resolution. It looks blockier. This would be a perfect time to up the number of colours. So this will improve the quality of the picture. So obviously it's not as higher resolution, but if we don't have a lot of fine detail in the image, we may not care about that. We're looking more at, if it's more, say, like a painting or something, this would give great results, especially when you're viewing it from a distance. Your eye fills in the detail, and you're seeing the richness of the number of colours. You don't view it up close so that you can see the individual stitches. Versus, and if we severely limit the number of colours at this scale, you'll see it degrades. It just doesn't look as rich. But now, without changing the number of colours, if we increase the size, so if we go back up to the I don't know, 700, you'll see we're back to a pretty good picture, even though we're still at quite a small number of colours. And that's because now it can dither and intersperse those colours to create the visual effect that there's more colours there, and you see the same kind of rich image. So hopefully that's illustrated why you really need either higher resolution or you need a higher colour count. Having both for most pictures, especially if they're things like paintings, unless there's lots of, it's a very colourful image and there's lots of really intricate detail that you want to retain, you very often don't need both options. But obviously if you want them, if you don't mind the expense and the extra work, and it will be considerable amount of more work to do, it will look great, it should look great, but just bear in mind that it will cost more, it will take much longer to stitch, and bear in mind that very often, depending on the picture, it may not actually be hugely noticeable in terms of the quality of the final result. So I hope that's been useful. Please follow our page on Facebook, subscribe to our channel below, and we'll try and do some more videos soon. Thank you.